What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Athletic Hockey Show. It's Hailey, Salvian, and Dom Luszczyszyn here with you for a Thursday edition of the show. It's supposed to be a special, Besties Hour edition of the podcast. Sean was trying to be a hero. He is not feeling well. And he was like, I'll just do the show and won't say that much. And he really wanted to be a part of the Bestie Hour. We told him to, hit the curb. We were like, just get lost. It's Dom and I today. How do you feel about this?
I feel okay. I think we're strong advocates for if you're sick, stay home.
Yeah.
And that applies to even at-home work. If Sean's voice makes him sound like Kermit the Frog,
yeah,
maybe he shouldn't do a podcast. We tried to get him to do ASMR with his
You did.
Scraggly voice. I did. And I think that's when he abruptly left.
Yeah. He was like, that's my side business. You can't tell. Everyone's going to know it's me if I start doing this on the podcast. So yeah, no Sean Gentili today. It's Dom and I for this Thursday. There was only 2 games in the NHL last night. Montreal Canadiens, Ottawa Senators, Caps, Flyers. We want to zero in on Habs Sens from last night, though. Sens are in a battle to stay in the Eastern playoff race. Goaltender Jacob Fowler completely steals the show in Montreal. So he was called up on Wednesday from the American Hockey League, and Canadiens head coach Martin St. Louis essentially giving this young goalie the vote of confidence over Sam Montembeault. He said yesterday, if you look at where we are today, the results are important, and I think this is the best decision for the game tonight. That's Martin St. Louis on the decision to recall and start Jacob Fowler last night. Huge save on Claude Giroux at the end of that game. 32 saves, 6 in the final 2 minutes. Just a huge night for Jacob Fowler in Montreal. Dom, what did you think of this?
I thought it was the right choice. I was a bit surprised that he was sent down earlier in the year because he, I think, when he was there, was probably the best goalie that Montreal had. And maybe it was the right decision because the extra season in NHL made him phenomenal last night. The last 5 minutes, he was just on fire. He got the win for the Habs. For the year, he saved 4.2 goals above expected in just 11 games. Montembeault has let in 3.7 in 25. So I still have some respect and reverence for Montembeault because he's been so good for the last 3 or 4 years for Montreal. And it is a bit disappointing that now when they need him to be great, he's turned into a bit of a pumpkin, but that is goalies for you. With 3 decent options, if one of them is not going the way Montembeault isn't, and you got to ride the hot hand and his confidence is where it is, go with the guy who has been the best for you, and that's been Fowler. This is going to be his net going forward. He's probably going to be Montreal's starter of the future. This might be his time to just take the reins because even Jacob Dobish hasn't been great this year. He's been kind of average. He's been fine, whatever. If Fowler can be what he showed to be last night, it's a game changer for Montreal.
Mm-hmm. And the decision to play Fowler seems relatively easy just based on how poorly Montembeault's played since the Olympic break. Arpin Basu did a nice story today. If you want to read that on The Athletic, our Montreal Canadiens reporter. In 2 starts since the Olympic break, Montembeault had a 4-3 overtime loss to the New York Islanders and a 6-5 shootout loss to the Anaheim Ducks. He allowed a tying goal in the dying minutes of regulation in one of those, and then allowed 9 goals on 59 shots and 847 save percentage of 4.28 goals against average. So just a tough stretch when you've got a young goalie who can win you points, even steal you points. If we go back and look at that Claude Giroux goal, actually, funny enough, they didn't include that as a save because the statistician, oh my God. I just started to say your last name. The NHL officials deemed that the shot was going wide. So that huge glove stop or the huge pad save on Claude Giroux didn't even count officially as a save for Jacob Fowler. So he's getting the Canadiens points. It doesn't mean that Montembeault's never going to come back or never going to start again or find his game, but this just feels like the right choice for the Montreal Canadiens right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. it's hard when you have three goalies, and this is part of the drawback with a three goalie system that a lot of teams are going towards. But I don't know, you just got to give the net to Fowler at this point. He's been that good this year compared to everyone else. Montembeault, we had him within our top 12 goalies in the player tiers this year, and everyone we talked to was a little down on him, and I think the private data was a bit harsher on him compared to what we have publicly, and this might be why we're kind of seeing his downfall. I think he can bounce back and maybe be a 1B still, but this is Fowler's net, I think, from now on.
Does the starting goalie in Montreal matter all that much when we're thinking about the playoffs and where they could go? Like, we're going to go over your cup race story in more detail in the aftermath of the trade deadline in the next segment, but we can maybe skip ahead a little bit. Bigger picture for the Montreal Canadiens. Like, is this a team that is really going to make a push based on who's in net regardless, Dom, or are they still just kind of in with the rest of the league?
It's tough because the East outside of, I think, Tampa and Carolina is pretty mid, and Montreal's part of that group. And part of it is because goaltending is a bit of an Achilles heel right now with how Montembeault and Dobrev played this year. But even with that, like, the middle of their roster, I think, still has a Michael Hage size hole, and when he comes in, they'll be a contender. But for now, that middle six is pretty dire. I'm not in love with the defensive depth, mainly the third pair. They have flaws just like every other East team. I think they can win around, but once they get to Tampa Bay, I think that's where there's going to be trouble. And if Fowler can steal games like he showed he can last night, I think that could be a difference maker, because the playoffs, we've seen goalies steal games and series. We've seen this very team show that ability with Halak and Price in the past. If Fowler is cut from the same cloth, that they're developing him the same way, that could be the difference in a series against Tampa Bay, where if he can just match Vasilevskiy,
oh, sure.
Hey, they could do it.
The Montreal Canadiens, they're third in the Atlantic, by the way, 82 points in the season. They've won 3 straight. And when I say, are they in with the rest of the league, I should say, this is how the tiers are kind of broken up in the Cup Watch story. We've got the contenders, the dark horses, the rest of the field. And right now on Dom's rankings, the Montreal Canadiens are looking like they're in the rest of the field. But that was, of course, before Jacob Fowler got called up. We'll see if that young goalie can make some waves for the Habs once the postseason comes. The only other game last night, it was the Philadelphia Flyers against the Washington Capitals. Flyers score 4 unanswered goals. They beat the Caps. Caps have now lost 4 of their past 5 games. Does that just kind of verify the reason? Like, I know it was shocking for Alex Ovechkin, and we talked about this in the John Carlson trade to Anaheim, made a lot of sense for the Ducks specifically. But if this is the way that the Cap season is going to continue, it probably makes sense that they were grabbing some assets for a guy like John Carlson. How do you feel about that, Dom?
It felt like a vibes destroying trade. If you had as many Capitals fans in your mentions as I did last year, all they would talk about is the power of friendship and how it was propelling their season last year and even the year before that. Carlson seemed to be a big part of that. We saw how it affected Ovechkin. We saw how it affected Tom Wilson. The vibes need a huge, monumental shift. They might get it when Cole Hudson arrives, and I think that's a big reason why they made the prudent decision to trade Carlson. They have probably someone they think can replace Carlson internally, and they can get a first and I think a third for him back. It just sucks for now, and it's probably the final nail in the coffin for their playoff odds. They're down to 14% right now. But yeah, it's been a strange season for Washington, where they seem like a good team, especially at 5-5. Their special teams have been awful, and they seem to lose a lot of 1-goal games and win a lot of 2 or 3 or 4-goal games. So weird season. It makes sense from a team building perspective to move on from Carlson, given what's coming up. But for now, it's probably the reason they might be out of it.
Yeah. Would you have held on to him for the vibes and for the future? Because John Carlson's still like a meaningful piece.
It's so tricky, and I wish our other friend Sean Gentili was here to speak
This
about
is
this.
where he would just randomly be like, I want to trade it.
No, I
Sorry,
don't think
everyone. That was
I'm
gross.
not sure he would have. This is why Sean would have been an expert on this subject. He's been around the Caps a lot over the last year, and he is from Pittsburgh, so he has seen firsthand how Crosby, Malkin, Letang were treated by that organization. It felt like Carlson was on that same level for Washington, that he was a franchise legend. You saw him retiring with the Capitals and being there from start to finish, that it felt odd the way it came down, where he woke up to being traded. It felt like there wasn't the type of respect you would expect for someone of his stature, where I think there was a report yesterday as well that Anaheim just kept pushing and pushing and upping the offer until Washington said, all right, fine, here you go. And it was a good trade, I think, but I don't like, was it even a good trade? Like, they got as much as the Blues did for Justin Falk, and I think Carlson's way better than that. So I guess there's term on Falk's deal. I guess that makes sense. It's just, yeah, it's a tough way for that era to end.
Yeah. It was definitely a surprising trade. He makes a ton of sense for the Ducks. Pat Verbeek had a one-on-one with Mike Seisberger at NHL.com talking about Carlson's fit with the team. And it looks like he was telling the Caps that the Ducks were looking to shore up their defense, and the Caps maybe brought up John Carlson themselves. Like, Verbeek told NHL.com yesterday that the Caps asked if we would be interested in John Carlson, and he was like, yes. Because of course he did. And he's close to returning from a lower body injury. He could make his Ducks debut against the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, on Thursday night. But a more realistic target, again, according to NHL.com, is the game against the Sens on Saturday, or against Montreal on Sunday. So we still haven't seen John Carlson in Anaheim, but if that's true and the Caps were just like, do you want John Carlson? That makes it a little bit more like, oh, what happened here? Why are you guys doing this?
Right. And did they ask anyone else? Was there a bidding war for Carlson's services? I don't know. I do love it for Anaheim, though. I think it might have been nice to get like a defensive stopper, a shutdown guy, because that's what this team needs. But we've seen teams go shy away from their strengths, and it seems like with Carlson, they're building towards it. Like, we have a lot of offensive firepower on the come up. Why not get someone who can move the puck and have that second layer of attack behind Jackson Lacombe's pair?
Okay. Really quickly before we take a break, we want to get to the Cup watch, and also this would have been more fun with Sean. Now we're just sitting here being like, wow, I wish we would have made Sean sit here quietly and only chime in every few minutes. We're going to revisit our awards predictions that we did, the three of us, from the beginning of the season. They're horrendous. They're so bad. So we can just dump on all of Sean's picks and celebrate our tiny wins, if there are any. But very quickly before we head to that break, Nick Schmaltz signed an 8-year contract extension with the Utah Mammoth yesterday with an average annual value of $8 million. So another potential free agent off the board this summer. Schmaltz said that there was never a doubt that Utah's where he wanted to play the rest of his career. Very happy to sign an 8-year extension in Utah. He's 30 years old right now. 59 points in 65 games. Like, he was like my favorite fantasy player last year, just like a random dude. I was like, yeah, he's good for a couple points here. I haven't set my fantasy lineup in weeks.
I know.
This season. You've been tracking that? Are we playing against each other or something?
No, I just see you at the bottom of the standings and figure that's usually what happens.
Yeah, I'm over it. It's too much for me. I'm not over my heartbreak of losing in the football championship game. But anyways, Nick Schmaltz, 8x8. Dom, you like this deal for him in the Mammoth?
I think it is perfectly fair. Like, it is right on the money. I had, I think, 7.9 or something. This is so classic, where win-win for both sides. I think Utah gets a bit lower on the AAV just so that they can have Schmaltz for 8 years. And I think term was a big thing for him. That's probably the sticking point for a lot of people. Last 3 years of this deal will not be good. but the first 5 should be great. And that is the UFA experience.
And you can just deal with that in 5 years. Like, maybe that's goofy, and like maybe I'd be a terrible GM, because then, like, I would just end up 5 years down the road being like, where's all my money? I have no cap space. I've overpaid everybody on my roster, but I'm like, whatever. It's a problem for 5 years from now. I'll deal with it then. They'll be fine.
When the cap is 150 million, like, it is like, there are gonna be teams that need to reach the floor that could really use Nick Schmaltz at 8 million.
Exactly. Kick the can down the road. It's fine. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, our putrid awards predictions. That's coming up next on the Athletic Hockey Show. All right, we are back on the Athletic Hockey Show. It is Hailey and Dom. No Sean.
No Sean.
Sean has the man flu. Just a little bit of news that just came out as we were taking a break. This is from Chris Johnson, the NHL, I believe, sent out a press release as well. The league has modified the penalty against the Ottawa Senators for the invalidated Evgenii Dadonov trade. Remember that one from a couple of years ago? The Sens are now going to pick 32nd in the upcoming draft, regardless of where they finish, rather than forfeiting their 2026 first round pick entirely. And all this news did was like remind me that the league actually made the Sens forfeit a first round pick because of all that. Wasn't he like traded to Anaheim? Wasn't that the thing? And he was like, no, this was on my no trade list that you did not disclose. And then the Sens lost a first round pick entirely. Now you get to pick 32nd. That's really nice. That's great news.
They might miss the playoffs, and their consolation is picking 32nd. Like, it
Instead
is
of not at all.
It's better than not at all, but the fact they had to forfeit a first round pick for such an inconsequential move, like, it's a Dadonov trade. I think that Vegas wasn't allowed to do something else because of it. Vegas is the league's pet, obviously. They get all this preferential treatment. They get to put Mark Stone on LTIR forever. Whatever. It's fine. League's villain keeps winning. Senators got shafted by this, and this is a nice step in the right direction, and it's good that they get a pick at all, but what were we doing here in the first place to have them forfeit a first round for a like, obviously it's a massive mistake. I just don't think the punishment fits the crime. Like, just fine them. Just give them a large fine. That's fine.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. I should have looked this up before we started recording. That was kind of the end of the Pierre Dorion era in Ottawa, right? That was a Dorion mistake. Yeah. So that's the end of that. They bring in, usher in this new era, I guess. But I don't know. Like, that's a clerical error. I don't think Dorion was trying to pull one over on anyone. They just agreed to a trade without checking, and then they lose a first round pick. I don't know. Not great. I just pulled up Corey Pronman's. This was in 2022. This was so long ago. It's ridiculous. Corey Pronman had his prospect rankings out yesterday. If we scroll all the way down to tier 4, the middle of the lineup player, that is where we will find the 32nd overall prospect in the 2026 NHL draft. So congratulations to the Sens. If you missed the playoffs, you could maybe draft William Hackison or Ryan Rubrick.
Great names. That's all I know about them.
I don't know. That's tough. I struggle to find that to be good news. I guess it's nice that they get a pick now. We've promised it. This is not great for us, Dom. So at the beginning of the season, you, Sean, and I, we made some awards predictions, and they were bad. They were quite bad. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to look at who the current favorite is for these major awards, and then we'll see what we all predicted. It's going to be a really fun exercise. It's not going to delegitimize us as
They'll be
hockey
humbling.
analysts at all. Yeah, like it's fun. We're being fun and cool. Let's start with the Hart. Let's just go right for it. Who's the favorite to win the Hart this season, Dom?
Probably Nathan MacKinnon. He has been the best 5-on-5 player this year. He's outscoring teams at an unbelievable rate. He has the points production that can get him there. He's getting Selke consideration according to Wyshynski's latest awards watch. So he's been a dominant force on the league's best team. So I think it's him. Show us what we have.
Okay. McDavid, Kaprizov, Kucherov.
Okay.
Those are our top 3. Dom, you at least picked Connor McDavid. I went with Kirill Kaprizov, and Sean picked Nikita Kucherov. And I think we all acknowledged, like, oops, nobody took Nathan MacKinnon in the moment. But I think we were all just trying to be like, let's be unique.
All of us?
Like, other than you.
All of us? Or
Sean and I were like, let's think of something crazy. Was I the one?
Well, it's a 4-person race, right? It's at least among forwards. You might get a D in there. You might get Sorokin in there.
Is Kaprizov anywhere in the conversation?
No, probably not. Kucherov definitely is. He has some Gretzky-like numbers over the last 2 or 3 months, so he's there. He could win it himself. To some people, he might be the favorite. I still take MacKinnon. 2 of us are okay. 1 of us are bad. That's okay, because the next one probably isn't great either.
Oh, it's very bad. Okay, Calder favorite. It's clearly Matthew Schaefer, right?
Yeah,
like
wait,
obviously, we should have seen this coming.
Obviously. Let's see who we picked.
Okay, so Sean did okay. Like Demidov, he scored for the Habs last night. Good job, Sean. I picked Zeev Buyam. I had obviously just read a bunch of Mike Russo propaganda before that episode. And then you picked Rinzel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Let's go through our thought process here, because I think we both have the same one. We thought that these 2 guys would run their power plays and get a bunch of points. And I think we both thought that Matthew Schaefer was not a lock to make the Islanders, because we did this relatively early in the off season. I think if we knew Schaefer was making the team, one of us was taking Schaefer, but it still, I think, shows how unprecedentedly great he's been as an 18-year-old. 18-year-old defensemen usually suck. There's a reason they don't make the team. This is a hard league for defensemen. Yeah. Schaefer makes it look easy every night, and that's why he's getting the capital G word treatment some nights, where he looks like a generational defenseman. Yeah,
and I think at that point there was nothing. Everything was very non-committal. Of he's just going to enjoy the ride at training camp, and the Islanders didn't look like they were going to be great this season. So there was this question of do you just let him marinate in a different league rather than force him into a team that might be bad? He's not really going to have opportunities to score or play his game. And that just hasn't been the case. So just really, really dumb by us. Someone should have just been whatever, I'm taking Schaefer. Would have been smarter.
I blame
Corey
Pronman and Scott Wheeler for not hyping this guy up more. I didn't know he had this in him at all. I don't pay attention to the prospects at all on draft night. I'll read some profiles from our boys.
Yeah. Well, we all loved him after the draft night. The stuff with his mom and his suit. Every interview with Matthew Schaefer, it's oh my God, I love this kid. And then a couple months later, he's people are asking, should he be on Team Canada? And very obviously the Calder favorite. So
he wasn't talked about as a franchise changing player in this way. And I think his comparison was Miro Heiskanen, which is probably fair given the type of game he plays and his skating and his defending and the whole package. And I don't want to throw my friends under the bus here. Schaefer didn't play a lot last year. He didn't get a lot of viewings, and he has probably blossomed into a level that few could have seen coming. It's just, I think I'm just trying to give us some cover for why we didn't pick him. He didn't have the hype that he's displaying.
Miro
right now.
Heiskanen's great. Didn't win the Calder.
Yeah.
So, The Norris isn't that bad. I picked Quinn Hughes. You picked Makar. Sean picked Rasmus Dahlin. That's not terrible.
That is perfectly defensible.
Do we think Makar is going to win this year?
I think Makar is probably still the favorite, but it is become razor thin, and I think this is like the deepest field of Norris contenders we've ever seen. Like if I just rattle off the list of players in the top, like defense in the top 15, there's 8 of them. Makar, Hudson, Seider, Bouchard, Sanderson, Dahlin, Wrenski, Hughes. Like, if you pick any of those guys, there's a strong case to be made. And I think that'll make some people angry. We're like, how do you have this guy favored? There should be this guy. Like, they're all really close. Yeah. And this will be, I think, the biggest vibe pick in terms of it's like you're just taking whoever your favorite is. And I really don't think there's a wrong answer. There's a big push for Wrenski who we don't have.
I think we talked about him as someone we didn't vote for, though. We did acknowledge that could have been a mistake.
Yeah. I think the Dahlin pick is coming around. He obviously started the season off slow for very obvious reasons, like his fiance was not doing well health-wise. Since he came back from Sweden, he has been maybe one of the best defensemen in the world. He's been that good for the Sabres. He's one of the biggest reasons they've maintained this special pace going forward. And especially over the last month or two, he's been on fire and put himself back into this conversation.
Yeah. And also should mention Quinn Hughes, since being traded to the Minnesota Wild, 41 points in 33 games.
Yeah.
Like, I think that killed my Bouillon pick. And that's not my fault. Who would have thought that Quinn Hughes would get traded to the Minnesota Wild? Not me.
Not me.
We can skip the Selke and go to the Vezina. Because this, I don't know if it's... Who's the favorite for the Vezina right now? This is me being like, I don't want to say this isn't terrible. It's not bad.
It's going to come down to Sorokin or Vasilevskiy. This one's voted by the GMs. This is bad. It's voted by the GMs, and they could look at how Sorokin is carrying the Islanders, or they could say Vasilevskiy has a lot of wins. Whee! They might do that. Vasilevskiy's been great. I think Sorokin has been on another level this year entirely. I would give it to him, but who knows how the GMs vote.
So we didn't pick either of those two.
Okay, great.
You went with Shesterkin. Sean went Hellebuck. I went Jake Ottinger.
That's goalies for you. That's not our fault. Goalies are weird.
Yeah.
Imagine taking Hellebuck and that being one of the worst picks of the group. Like it's just so funny.
Except he was so good at the Olympics that really pissed me off. I thought he was supposed to turn into a pumpkin.
He did the opposite of his usual thing, where he was clutch when it mattered and has been normal otherwise. Yeah, pretty good crazy. Bit. Pretty Super good bit.
Rude. Very rude. As Selke, we did pick Reinhart, Hischier, and Anthony Cirelli, which is fine.
Well, the favorite is probably Suzuki. This has been a fun year. It's been a chaotic year. I don't think, like, especially if you look at the teams, not to segue for you, but if you look at the teams and the standings right now, no one in their right mind at the start of the season be like, yeah, I think that's how it'll shake down.
And I think that's the fun transition point. Yes, it's humbling to go back and look at our predictions. It's like a funny little thing to do on a day on the podcast when there was only 2 games the night before. But I think it really does speak to how bad like everyone was at predicting this season. It's been a little bit chaotic. And we can touch on some of this with the trade deadline aftermath, looking at the Cup favorites. And if we like compared that to the preseason team previews and like the rankings, like Toronto Maple Leafs, they were going to be good this year. Pittsburgh Penguins, I think you guys had them bottom 2 or 3. I don't think anyone predicted the Buffalo Sabres would be leading the Atlantic Division. Like, there's been a lot of chaos this season. Like, just how unpredictable has this season been? for like prognosticators, Dom?
This is how bad it's been. I touched on this in 16 Stats last week, where usually the odds makers are a strong barometer for what's going to happen this year. If you bet against every favorite to miss the playoffs and every underdog to make the playoffs, usually you're going to lose money. That's just the way it goes. You can't just bet the underdog for every pick. If you did that this year, you would have made a fortune. That's how unlikely a lot of these playoff teams are. That's how unlikely a lot of these misses are. To the point that if you were to take every prediction made this year, so that's my model, other models, the betting market, Jay Fresh runs a fan prediction contest every year, so he has thousands of submissions of standing predictions. The average error for points, so if I guess 95 and a team got 90, that's 5 points of error, and you average that up for all 32 teams, the best prediction at the start of the year would have been, I think every team's going to get 91 points. That's how chaotic it's been, where if you just said, I don't know, flip a coin, you are better than everyone, which is, I think, a testament to how wild and unpredictable the season's been, which is part of the fun. I think this is what makes hockey great, is we are seeing a season where literally any team can win, and we're seeing the playoffs make out that way, where the East has 4 to 6 teams that didn't make it last year, something along those lines, and it's going to be fun.
Is there one team that shocked you the most in terms of the projection and where they're at?
That is tough.
Is it the Ducks leading the Pacific?
Well, leading to Pacific is kind of like...
What, you don't think that matters?
That's like me winning a race against 5-year-olds. Like, it's the Pacific. It is surprising that Vegas and Edmonton have been bad enough that like Anaheim is leading. I think people did see Anaheim taking a step. I think a lot of the chaos is in the East, where Pittsburgh and the Islanders, I think, are 2 teams that people did not expect to do anything this year. Boston as well. Buffalo, I was one of the most optimistic people about them, and I had them like 90 points just because like the market had like 80 points to start the year, and they might win the Atlantic. That's just the way it is. To me, it's kind of surprising that Florida, Toronto, they played such an epic playoff series last year in the second round. They look like contending teams, like they look like Warriors, and they just have limped all year and just not made in. Florida has an excuse. They didn't have Barkov. They didn't have Kachuk. They had a lot of injuries. They've played a lot of hockey the last 3 years. The Leafs clock struck midnight on a team that was winning a lot of 1-goal games and depending on goaltending. So it's not too surprising about the direction some of these teams went. It's just the sheer magnitude of it. Rangers too. Like I thought Sullivan was a great coach. I thought it was a great hire. I thought they'd be fine. A lot of other people did too. They're the worst team in the East. It's fun. It's a fun season.
Mm-hmm. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are one of the ones that, like, you guys had them in the preseason as the second or third worst team.
I think third, yeah.
By the projections. Sean was on local radio in Pittsburgh talking about how they're going to be horrendous this season. And they're playing like good, relevant hockey.
Mm-hmm. Emphasis on good.
Yeah, and like they're doing it, and like Erik Karlsson's been great. Chris Letang has looked better. I'm trying to Justin Brazeau like starts the season looking unbelievable beside Evgeny Malkin.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Mantha's playing great. They've got young players who are making, a meaningful impact on the roster. And it's almost funny to have the conversation of the Penguins and Leafs beside each other when we know who's the architect of this Pittsburgh Penguins season. Kyle Dubas may be girl boss too close to the sun. I thought they were going to gun for like a retool, and now they're accidentally good. I don't think it's an accident, though. I think Kyle Dubas is a good general manager. I was like, let's get some like good cheap options, some good young players. We'll use our assets correctly. And the Penguins are relevant again.
Yeah. Part of our reasoning for the Penguins being bad is we thought they would trade a lot of players, Raquel, Rust, Carlson even, and they obviously didn't do that because they were so good right off the bat. And you talk about Dubas girl bossing a bit too close to the sun. I think a lot of these acquisitions were made for the reason to trade them for assets for this retool. Like, I think they looked at Mantha and said, we think he can be a solid top 6 player for us. We can probably get a second round pick at the deadline for him as we boost his value. Maybe same with Brazeau. And instead they turn into integral pieces of this return, which like I think is the best case scenario to see one last dance with this core. Because that's what I've been wanting for the last 3 years. And they kept coming up short of expectations. This year they had no expectations, and maybe that helps a little bit, where they come in thinking, okay, everyone thinks we suck, let's prove them wrong. And they have, and Dan Hughes deserves so much credit for all of this, because I remember when the Penguins hired him, I said, who dat? And I think a lot of people also said that.
Not me.
Not you.
I'd interviewed him before and was like, I like that Dan Hughes.
Oh, look at that. You should have tweeted something, because I
like
no
that
idea.
Dan Hughes fellow. That's my tweet.
Look at him now. I think one of the strong barometers for whether a coach is good is you look at the special teams and see how good they are. And Penguins have been really strong in both power play and penalty kill, despite a personnel group that maybe shouldn't be getting those kinds of results. It's been amazing to witness. I really want to see another Crosby playoff run, whether that's a series, whether that's 3. We all want to see it. I can't wait.
Ben Kindle's been great too. Just another name drop.
Another Dubas W.
11th overall pick by the Penguins in 2025. He's been great. I think watching the Penguins, one of the more surprising things, and maybe it shouldn't be just based on the results over the last couple of years, just watching them under Dan Hughes is just like, damn, this looks really bad on Mike Sullivan. Just the way that they were playing the last 2 years. Just like, oof. I guess maybe they should have moved on a little bit sooner. No one's gonna, I think it's fine that they stuck with their guy as long as they did, but now you're looking at a new coach and a new playing style and a new voice, and you're like, oof.
Especially with the Rangers,
this is making a big difference.
Yeah.
So Pittsburgh Penguins, they've been a big story this season. Toronto Maple Leafs and Penguins flip-flopping a little bit. Let's throw in a break here. When we come back, we will go through the Cup Watch. That's coming up next on the Athletic Hockey Show. All right, we are back. One final thing, I guess, on the Pittsburgh Penguins I should have asked. Where are they at on the Cup contender watch list from Dom Luszczyszyn? Like, we're saying all this nice stuff about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Are they a realistic playoff contender in your mind, Dom?
Like, probably not. This is such a weird season that, like, usually my model gives deference to teams with a track record. And so a lot of those teams show up at the top of the list, and they show up pretty emphatically because the field feels so much more random with a lot of middling teams that I'd expect the Lightning, the Hurricanes, the Avalanche to have a much easier time in the first round and maybe even the second round for those East teams, where I think Lightning and Hurricanes are like head and shoulders above the rest of the East. So that middle group, they have a very winnable first round. They can have a successful season. Pittsburgh, if they play the Islanders, they can win that series. Hurricanes are probably a very different story, and we saw a bit of that play out earlier this week, where they had a very spirited comeback against Frederik Andersen, who's been kind of weak this year, but it was the Hurricanes controlling that game from start to finish. So I don't think they're a contender. I think there's a lot of teams that maybe qualify in the happy to be there category. And I'm happy they're there, but I don't know if they can make a lot of noise given how strong the top two teams in the East are.
Mm-hmm. So they're in like the rest, which means they have a 0 to 2% chance at winning the Stanley Cup. It makes sense based on, everything we've just talked about. Like, that's fine. I'm not shocked. I'm not appalled by the Penguins being lower down, although like that probably means they're going to make it to the Eastern Conference Final or something, the way that things have been going. What is a little bit more surprising, especially considering Sean Gentili, McIndoe, and Frankie Corrado spent so much time gassing up the Buffalo Sabres, who had an incredible win against the Tampa Bay Lightning earlier this week. The Buffalo Sabres are in the same tier as the Pittsburgh Penguins. 0 to 2% chance at making the playoffs. There's so much to love about the Buffalo Sabres this season that I was surprised I had to scroll so far down. Dom, why are you hating on the Sabres? Why are you doing this to us?
Do you remember the show we talked about awards where I was gassing up the Sabres so much because I thought, like, I was one of the more optimistic people about them. A lot of the models were, they had a very young team. They had a lot of bad luck in past years, past decades, whatever. They looked like they could be a team on the rise that could finally figure it out once everyone gave up on them. And they have absolutely done that. Obviously, they barely lose anymore. It's great to see. Every day they win, they don't move up that much in my model. It's because, unfortunately, the way they're winning is not the way maybe the Lightning or the Avalanche win, where they control the run of play. Since early December, when they started this run, they have a 49% XG rate and the highest PDO in the league. And I think they're a great finishing team. I think they have the forward depth and talent to be one of the top finishers in the league and make hay with that. That's their strength. That's their advantage. But what surprises me is that a lot of this wing streak is because they have the best goaltending in the league. And when the tandem is Alex Lyon and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I'm not as inspired by that tandem to believe that aspect of it is real. And you look at it like that game against Tampa Bay is a perfect example where Luukkonen gives up 7, and yes, the Sabres scored 8. Heroic. I don't care as much because Jonas Johansson was on the other side and he stinks. Like, that's a different game with Vasilevskiy and that, where maybe it's like 7-4. And I think the 7 part is the worrying side for me, where I think the Sabres have the firepower to hang with anyone in the East. Maybe not the top end. They don't have a Kucherov like the Lightning do, and that's my biggest fear. But they, I think, defensively still have a bit of work to do as a young team.
I mean, they have a pretty good goal differential, plus 35. But is your model basically, like, the model is looking at their 8-game win streak, them being at the top of the division, as a bit of like, I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but it's not really buying it as true contender status.
It's buying them as a good team. They're a good team. I think I'm definitely underselling them in some way. There's a part of this where teams have like a swagger aura about them where they know they can win and they do what's needed to win. And I think Buffalo this year is figuring out the exact necessary thing to do to win, where there are a lot of games like during this streak where their XG isn't that good. There's a lot of games where they have put the team away early, like in the first period or the second period, where they might still lead and it's just a bunch of garbage time. They're allowing chances, which is fine. But I think when the playoffs come around, I think they'll win the first round. I think Tampa Bay will be a welcome to the playoffs moment where they see just how high the level has to go. I personally hope the Sabres go all the way because it's awesome. I just have a bit more caution based on how they're getting wins during the streak where everything's going right. They've spent a lot of time where everything has gone wrong, so why not?
But so this is where I start to like attack you and your model. It's not personal. Why are the Columbus Blue Jackets and Ottawa Senators dark horses in the East, but the Sabres and the Penguins are not?
So the Blue Jackets,
it's fishy to me, Dom. It's a little fishy to me. The Sens aren't even in a playoff spot.
we all know I'm paid by Big Sens and Big Blue Jackets, the two drivers of the NHL. The Blue Jackets have been a bit of a model pet this year, like even before they got bonus behind the bench. Like I think they were last in the East, and Maimel still gave them like a 30% chance to make the playoffs because the underlying team still felt solid. They have a great defense backed by Wrenski, but the big thing was Jet Greaves, who over the last 2 years has saved more goals than expected per game than any goalie in the league. Any goalie. Hellebuck, Sorokin, Vasilevskiy, Shesterkin, Jet Greaves might be the future. And I don't think, so that is the main reason that my model loves Columbus a bit more, is that during the playoffs, Jet Greaves should, because they do start Elvis a lot, Jet Greaves should get the bulk of the starts, and that gives Columbus a bit more series stealing potential. The other thing is that Columbus is in a much weaker part of the bracket. Like, if Columbus gets the Islanders in round one, the Sabres get Montreal, I think the Sabres are closer to 50-50 there. Columbus, I think, would be a considerable favorite over the Islanders because the Islanders don't control play very well. And then I think Tampa Bay is way stronger than Carolina, where the path has a lot to do with it for Columbus. Ottawa has been the best possession team since the new year. So that is their strength. Is start of the season, they were a good team, getting completely sunk by goaltending. Since Ullmark has come back, they've been a lot better because he just has to be average. That's all he has to be because of how well they create chances and especially suppress chances. I think defensively, they're one of the best teams in the league. And we talk about defense winning championships. The Sens defense, when healthy, is really good.
Yeah, Jake Sanderson's great. But Ullmark wasn't very good last night against the Habs. So
no, he was not.
Something to keep an eye on. We'll see if that turns into another problem. Okay, I want to get to the contenders really quickly, like the true contenders. And I guess I just have 2 questions. Why is Tampa such a heavy favorite? And why is Colorado not the favorite? Especially when, and I should say, Tampa Bay has a 33% chance to win the Stanley Cup. The Colorado Avalanche are at 22%, and that's despite you saying that Nazem Kadri was the biggest needle mover at the deadline, added to a team that already includes Cale Makar and Nathan MacKinnon. So why is Tampa so far ahead the pack, and like a pack that includes a team like the Avs who have lost, 10 games in regulation this season? Explain yourself.
You're right. It does deserve explanation. I think it is something that I have looked at every day, wondering how I have Tampa Bay this high. So, like, all the concepts I just talked about are relevant here. So we have track records where Tampa Bay and Colorado, I think, have been the best 2 teams over the last 2 years, probably. I think not just this year, past seasons matter. And Tampa Bay having one of the best goal differentials in the league last year matters a bit to this discussion. The big thing for Tampa Bay is the same thing that applies to Columbus, which is the bracket and goaltending. So Vasilevskiy starting every game is a massive advantage for a team that is deep at every position and has so much star power, because usually you'll see these great teams have to make sacrifices somewhere along lines, and usually it's a net. So Edmonton, their Achilles heel is always goaltending. Vegas, that's their Achilles heel. Carolina, same thing. Tampa Bay doesn't have that problem. They have one of the best goalies in the world. So when he's starting every night, they have a better chance to win compared to Colorado, where Blackwood is a great goalie. He's just not Vasilevskiy. So that makes them a bit more even in terms of their projected playoff strength. Where in a playoff series, I do have Lightning ahead just because of Vasilevskiy. The other reason is that Colorado, they'll have a cupcake first round matchup just like the Lightning will. But the second round, they have to face Dallas or Minnesota, which is going to be a gauntlet. It's going to be a difficult series. It's a series Colorado is heavily favored in, but not to the extent that Tampa Bay would be against like any team in the East. So that second round matchup, that should be a lot easier for Tampa Bay, where they might have like an 80% chance against anyone in the Atlantic. That plays, I think, the biggest role, where if they both make it to the finals, it'll be closer to a coin flip, and I'd probably lean Tampa Bay just because of goaltending.
Okay.
But the path to get there is so much easier for the Lightning. So that's the big reason.
Okay. So it's kind of a credit to the strength of the Central and just how chaotic and kind of mid the East has been this season. All right. Fun. Thanks, Dom. That's it. I think we're done.
What a great show.
Yeah, wow.
We didn't need Sean.
Who needs Sean Gentili? Not us.
Not us.
I hope he feels better, though, I guess. Because I don't want to have to do this again next week.
I wish we could pop in for 5 minutes just so like viewers who are here for the whole thing could just hear his like raspy voice.
Yeah.
Like imagine if he did the ASMR now. That'd be a great callback. And we'll never get that.
Yeah. We should get him to send an audio drop in for producer Jeff. Just throw that in there for everyone to know what we're talking about. No, it was ridiculous. He was like, no, I'll still do the show. I'll just, nod for the video and chime in every once in a while. It's like, what are you talking about? Just go to bed. You don't have to be a hero. It's fine. We've got this. We don't need you. We ended up doing just fine. So Dom, thank you for stepping in for Sean. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Athletic Hockey Show. The Prospect Boys have our next show on Friday. 14 games in the NHL tonight. Ooh, you're going to have to deal with sick Sean during power rankings with that many games. He is going to be sick and cranky. That's tough. Tough combo.
It's hard enough getting a text from him under normal conditions. Hey, it's power rankings time. 6 hours later. All right, let's get going. So today could be tough because we know for a fact there's gonna be like a 6 to 7 p.m. danger zone nap mixed in there.
Oh my god! Yeah, of course.
So you might wake up at 3 a.m.
All I know about Sean is that dude naps like every Thursday.
Well, here's the thing. Scientifically, it's proven that napping increases brain power. I read this the other day, and this one I did read.
Yeah, somewhere. You didn't TikTok that one?
This one wasn't on TikTok. This one I read.
Okay.
On Twitter.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Dom. Good luck to the power rankings readers. Everyone be on like typo watch for Sean's blurbs tomorrow. It's going to be a rough one. Thanks everyone for listening. Prospect Boys have it on Friday. Hopefully Sean will be back next Thursday.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed and catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And in the meantime, you can join our Discord community. We'll see you there.